Hello, happy Tuesday evening. If you're listening to this in real time, that means we have about 24 hours until Moody and Magnetic starts off. And I literally cannot wait for this new cohort. When I think about Moody and Magnetic, one of the things I always come back to is this idea of post-traumatic growth. And post-traumatic growth is really, and you can Google this is like a psychological term, I guess. But what it means to me is that the growth and the healing and the evolution that you can choose to go through after traumatic experiences can actually change the trajectory of your life in a way that leaves you even better off than you would have been otherwise. And I have experienced this for myself. The way that I have had to grow, change, heal, process, and just become the version of me who is in front of you today, those are the skills that I learned by processing my trauma. Those are the skills that I learned by healing. Those are the skills that I learned by really having to step it up and be there for myself in moments where it felt like no one was there for me. I had to learn how to get creative in situations where I felt like I had no options. I had to learn how to be vulnerable in situations where I felt really unseen, but I needed someone to see me because it felt like people outside of me were the only ones who could make decisions that would help me. And for those of you that don't know, I experienced quite a bit of childhood trauma and I navigated a lot of really difficult stuff at a really young age, and I'm still at a young age, right? I'm 27 years old, but I think the reason that a lot of people think I'm older than I am is because of who I've had to be going through and moving through and really healing from and getting to the other side of the traumas that I've experienced in life, right? And so the title of this live stream is What Matters More Than Your Trauma. And I want to say this explicitly, and it's something that I said to my email list earlier, and it's something that I say a lot. I say it basically every year when Moody and Magnetic is coming out. It actually doesn't matter what trauma you've experienced. It doesn't matter how severe it's been. And I know this because I was abused by someone I lived with for like 20 years until, for my whole childhood. It doesn't matter what you've been through and how severe it was and how long it was for and how deeply it impacted you and how messed up you still might feel from it. What matters is whether or not you believe you can grow. What matters is whether or not you believe you can change. What matters is what you believe about yourself and your future and the possibilities available to you. And it's unfortunate that we live in a world where they tell trauma survivors that they have limited opportunities, where we treat trauma survivors as if they are broken, as if we are broken, as if we can't have everything that everyone else can have, as if our trauma is holding us back and hurting us and limiting our ability to thrive and succeed and relate to people in a healthy way and make money in healthy ways and just be human beings, right? It's almost like our ability to function as human beings is in question because we are trauma survivors, and that fucking sucks. And I hate that. And one of the things that I do with Moody and Magnetic, and one of the reasons I've come to realize Moody and Magnetic exists, is because we have to change that. We cannot go on feeding that narrative that we are broken, that we can't do it, that we are held back, that we are limited, and that especially that something is somehow off the table for us and that possibilities have been cut off, because it's not true. It's just not true. And the more that I have learned this for myself, manifested things in my own life, but also the more that I've really been willing to see through that narrative by thinking about people who I know have been through traumatic experiences comparable to what I've experienced, being abused by family members at young ages, etc. I really have seen people soar in life and crush it in life even after having those kinds of events and even the prolonged experiences of trauma. And so I know that this is possible. I know that it can be done. And I refuse to believe that those people are exceptions and that the rule is that trauma survivors are limited or held back or can't do it. And that's why I teach manifestation to trauma survivors. And I often go back and forth about whether or not that's like, you know, we all question, we all doubt, we all think about what we're doing and we're like, is that really it? But I'm like, no, that is 100% what it is. And the reason is because manifestation to me feels like the loophole to society. Society tells you have to work within logic, within structure, within systems, and that if the systems and the logic and the structure say you can't do it, then you can't do it. Or if the systems and the logic and the structure say that you are just going to be fundamentally held back or that everything is going to be harder for you, then you just have to feel sorry for yourself and like it kind of sucks to suck. Or you're going to have to put up this huge fight and your cortisol level is going to have to be at an all-time high forever. And that is why a lot of activists martyr themselves. And that is why a lot of people who have good hearts and who are open and who are really trying to make a change in this world get sick and struggle and suffer. And I hate all of that. And I stand for none of it. And this is really why Moody and Magnetic exists and why it serves who it serves and why it is set up the way that it is set up. No matter where you are at with your nervous system, no matter whether you are able to just spontaneously burst into like a happiness rampage or whatever Abraham Hicks says that you need to do, no matter what intrusive racing thoughts are making you feel like you have too many limiting beliefs or whatever it is, you can have an incredible life, and I am here to help you do it. I feel like I could end the live right there, but I'm going to take a drink of water and see if there's anything else that I want to say. I think one thing coming up specifically is that I want you to remember that you're in really good company. If you're a trauma survivor, it is unfortunate, but it is true. There are a lot of people in this boat with you, and we get it, and we can do this, and we can support each other, and we can be in our own communities where we get each other and where we don't see each other as small or, again, broken or limited. I think when we come together and when we hold a vision of possibility and wholeness and like open doors and being unlimited, when we see each other in that light, it does something really miraculous because it helps us to start to see ourselves in that light too. And that's one of the reasons why I don't think Moody and Magnetic could ever be one-on-one necessarily. I think the group aspect is so important because there's something to be said for knowing that you're doing this together and that people are opening their heart to see themselves as unlimited, and so maybe you can too. And to know that you're not alone, you're not the first person to ever do this, but that there's something that unites us all. Like we are the group of people who have gone through something really, really freaking hard, but we are also deciding to be people who thrive and live life to the fullest and live as our truest, most authentic selves, even if we feel like people have tried to silence us our whole lives, etc., etc. Like being proud of who you are. I've seen people heal their relationships with sex after 10 years of not having sex. I've seen people heal their relationship with desire after being told that just by being themselves they're harming people. Like I've seen so much healing and like immense growth, and I think part of that just comes from the magic of had a notification go off. The magic of having someone see you and not just witness the trauma, which of course it's important to be witnessed in telling your story, in sharing, in being believed, but to witness all of you, to not just see you as a tragic story, but to see you as a person with like hopes and dreams and aspirations, and also a person with like talents and gifts and a big contribution to make, and a person with so much to give and a really big heart, and someone who is worthy and deserving of the very best, and who has what it takes to create the very best for themselves. And like, how often do you really get to be seen that way in life? Like, really? I don't often feel seen that way by people outside of really the work I do. I feel like Moody and Magnetic has been really special for me because I get to see people the way that I want to be seen. You know, like I've seen a lot of people look at me with pity, or look at me and make excuses for me, like, oh yeah, we can't expect you to do this or that or whatever. And it's kind of like, no, I don't care what you expect from me. I expect the best from myself because I know who I am and I know what I'm capable of. And when you come into Moody and Magnetic, it is that frequency of, I know who you are. I know what you're capable of. And more important than that, I'm going to help you know who you are. I'm going to help you know what you're capable of. And I'm going to give you all the tools you need to actually manifest in a way that works with your nervous system. So we're not going to be listing out a bunch of like horrible, racing, traumatic thoughts and then trying to argue with them and disprove them, because that just doesn't work for our brains. Trauma does not live in the brain, it lives in the body, right? And so we're going to be doing somatic stuff. We're going to be really like processing things, but in a way that is safe and gentle and like productive and effective. And then we're going to be channeling that energy into creating the life that you actually really want for yourself, even if it feels unrealistic right now.